interesting to see the growth of Anne-Marie and her story. You know, this is my second time seeing her present, and it's pretty profound. Get a kick out of that. So before I begin, thanks to Dean, Glenn, Anne-Marie for introducing me to the chamber here. But like I like to do all my presentations, I like to find ourselves in a comfortable seated position, putting the feet to the ground. And what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the breath. We're going to do 3 breaths. So we're going to inhale through the belly, inhale through the nose, from the belly, and exhale out the mouth. We're going to do that 2 more times. So inhale through the nose, from the belly, exhale, release. We're going to hold this at the top, the last one. So we're going to inhale, hold it, exhale, release. And so what you'll find is something shifted, something happened. And what that allows us to experience is what we like to call in this field, presence. And the idea of presence, we get to have a new experience. And the question that I like to present, what happens when you breathe? We breathe all the time, but what happens when we breathe? What happens when the breath becomes a tool? So as I'm going through life experiences, different things are happening. How do I handle it? How do I process it? Your breath can be your weapon, but what happens when you breathe? To conceptualize what happens when you breathe, breathing from the belly, the diaphragm pushes down into the internal organs, the kidney, liver, gallbladder, the intestines. It circulates the chi, the prana, the life force, the energy to move through the body, the heart, the lungs. They move on their own. They don't need your support. But when we breathe from the belly, we get to de-stress our bodies, de-stress our minds. So I can take 60, 70% of the stress that I feel that I have on a day-to-day basis, and just simply by my breath, I dissipate that. How amazing is that? And that's the resilience that we have. And I learned this interesting tool when I was in the hospital. One of the teachers I had, since I heard we have some teachers in the room, presented me with the question, how do you see yourself in 5 years? And ironically enough, I never thought about that. And this is why I teach the practice of contemplation. All problems are solved by questioning and answering. And when we answer the question, we have to be true to ourselves. This is how we begin to find our truth. So in this, I decided, well, you know, I'm from Texas, I'm living in Dallas. I see the Dallas Cowboys, I want to be a football player. So I take on that character and I become to be that football player. And I attain, because we have this ability to, when we put something out in the world, we can create it, we can attach to it, and we can build and work to get it. And I did that. I wanted every school in the country to recruit me. I chose Texas A&M because I was afraid to go outside of Texas at that time. I played 6 years in New Orleans, became to be All Pro. I went to the Houston Texans. My journey began when I got to Jacksonville. In Jacksonville, we were actually playing the Buffalo Bills. Ironically enough, we're in the state of New York. But we're playing the Buffalo Bills. I landed on my back after this particular tackle that I had made a million times. I ended up on my back. I couldn't move. In yoga, we call this posture Shavasana. It's the most vulnerable position you can be. And as a gladiator, I wasn't used to that. In front of 80,000 people watching, millions on television watching, I'm in the most vulnerable position of my life. And I'm freaking out, not because of my health, because of my ego, my identity that I was attached to. I was diagnosed with a spinal contusion. I suffered paralysis for about a month and a half or so. And I learned how to breathe in the hospital. And when the nurse came to me, she talked to me about the breath and conscious breathing. For me, how I was wired is you give me the playbook and let me execute. And the interesting thing enough about that is when you become to know that you can contribute to your healing, well, then you're not the victim anymore. And I held on to that. And I wanted to will myself to be well. And this is why I'm here. This is how I'm here today. Conscious breathing as a tool, processing information, realizing life is going to happen all kinds of ways, but staying resilient in my mind. How powerful are you? How powerful are we? And when we build these tools together, as we're finding, even in this concept of Chamber of Commerce, people coming from all parts of the city, we begin to put our heads together, create a think tank for solving problems, creating solutions, not marinating in the issues, because we're going to constantly, that's just how life presents itself. It presents itself with all kinds of happenings. But what we can do, come together and create solutions and emphasize solutions. And that's where the magic happens. The unthinkable happens this way. I've seen it. I'm living it. And what's possible for you, it's up to you. It's the limitation that you have in your mind that's going to be your biggest obstacle. But when we choose, the possible, the unthinkable can happen, can show up. It's the beauty of connection. It's the beauty of why we're here and what we can do. So it's great to be here. And I guess we're diving into some of the things with nutrition. And I know Dean mentioned about this. So when I went on my journey, because I stayed a month and a half in this paralysis state, and looking at my life and contemplating it and seeing all the things that they say that you want to aspire to have, the houses, the cars. I probably had 3 houses at that time, 6 cars. I was confined to one room. So I began to contemplate, really, what am I doing? I can't drive the cars. I'm in one room. I have someone feeding me. I began to contemplate, well, what is this really about, right? And I began to go on my journey visualizing how I wanted my relationships to be. The dynamic of the relationships with my parents, to myself. I had, in my mind, I felt I loved them, but they didn't know much about me. I didn't know really much about them. We never really had that direct dialogue. And when I started to visualize myself going forward, I was like, well, this is the relationships I want to have. So that same idea, I guess, when I